Hello everyone, dear passengers, and welcome to Amsterdam Schiphol Airport.
Our guest today has seen travel by land and by air and chose the skies. 12 years at KLM, 14 years at the NS, of which 2 as President Director, to only go back to KLM in 2022 as CEO. Her main challenge at the NS after COVID was to expand, but at KLM, she's likely to shrink. Or at least, that's what the Dutch government says. What will Marjan Rintel do, and what stands in KLM's future?
That's a great question, Filippo. Fly responsibly, or so goes their sustainable slogan, covering everything from recycling coffee pads to overhauling their entire fleet. Marjan Rintel is here to talk about the upsides and the caveats of the green transition. So let's get back to university to get ready for takeoff. Hello everyone and welcome to Room for Discussion's second Lustrum interview. I'm Koen.
I'm Filippo.
And we'll be your interviews for today. As you saw in the video, we have a lot of topics to discuss today. So without further ado, can we have a warm welcome for our guest of today, CEO of KLM, Marjan Rintel.
Hi.
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 So, welcome to Room for Discussion, Maria.
Thank
you. You spent your career mostly at 2 places. You started off in the same company you work for now, KLM, and then you switched to the NS and became President Director there in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. You now came back to KLM in 2022 as CEO, and it's fair to say I think there's some turbulence going on right now in KLM, maybe. So, do you believe you thrive in environments of uncertainty?
Do you believe?
You thrive in environments of uncertainty.
Yes. As an airline, we are used to fly in turbulent times. That's what we do. That's for one tour. You have to.
Oh,
Is it okay, the sound, or not? No?
I think yeah.
we should
Now
try
it's
again.
good, I think. Huh? I have to sit. So you have to reinvent yourself every decade, every year. That's what we do, and that's why we embrace the sustainability targets. That's why you mentioned it, and we have full initiative ahead.
So before we dive into the turbulence that KLM is facing, as you described, how would you describe KLM's relationship with Dutch society?
Well, it's a dilemma today. Eh? So what we see today is a lot of customers come back. People want to fly. That's Dutch people and international people as well. At the same time, we need to take the issues, the sustainable issues, seriously. So the government said we need to reduce noise with 15%. We embrace that. So we need to reduce noise, and we have a lot of initiatives around this.
And how would you describe then your relationship with the Dutch government instead? Compared to the society,
Well, it's
maybe?
important, of course, the relations with the Dutch government. They're shareholder on one side, and on the other hand, we see each other and speak to each other frequently. Also around how do we at least reach the targets set by the Dutch government.
Okay.
So one of the things you already mentioned is the plans for the shrinkage of Schiphol. So the plans there is to reduce the amount of flight movements to 440,000 a year compared to 500,000 now. But this plan was backtracked after a number of airlines, including KLM, sued the state, and then also after pressure from the European Commission and the United States. So why was it important for you to challenge these plans?
Well, you have 2 different things. First, it's not about reduction of movements. It's reduction of noise and reduction of CO2. That's the objective we need to reach, working together. What the Dutch government proposed was with an intermediate measure already reduce the movements. And what we said, you need a balanced approach. It's quite complicated because balanced approach is European regulation and how you can change things around the environment, around the airport. And we propose to the balanced approach how to reach the 15% noise reduction. We buy a new fleet, 6 billion. We buy a lot of sustainable aviation fuel. We want to use our silent aircraft during the night. So we proposed a lot of things which we can do all together to reduce the noise targets.
Yeah, and so are you proposing all of these alternative measures, so to say, because you think that shrinking Schiphol would threaten your market position, maybe?
No, but let's talk about the target.
Yeah.
And the target is noise reduction. And so there are a lot of different ways to reach that noise reduction. And we showed that in what we introduced as schoner, stiller, zuiniger, more cleaner, more efficient, to reach this target.
So one way that could also be used to reach these goals is through the introduction of a distance-dependent aviation tax. And 2 weeks ago, Volkskrant journalist Ashwant Nandram revealed that you threatened to sue a Schiphol executive if a report that outlined the projections of these distance-dependent aviation tax, but also the shrinkage plans into the future of Schiphol and how that would impact those goals. So why would you want to keep that information from the public?
But you ask a lot of different things. Let me try to answer them one by one. There are a lot of balloons in the sky. And it's difficult if you run a company to handle that. So we need, and that's what we try to do with a lot of other parties, you need a strategy, you need a vision. What do we want the airline industry to be in the Netherlands? What do we want the airport to be in the Netherlands? And today it's about, do we want long-haul tax or not? Do we want transfer tax or not? Do we want to open up Lelystad, yes or not? Do we want flight reduction, yes or not? So there are a lot of different initiatives not coming together in a vision and a strategy. It's very difficult to run a business with all kinds of initiatives that are half the story. Let's create together with the government, with all the stakeholders, at least a strategy and a vision. Where do we want to be in 20, 30, 50 years' time? And then let's invest. Let's invest in sustainable aviation fuel. Let's invest in ways to become more sustainable and at the same time connect the Netherlands with the world.
And so your vision basically entails a lot of investment, a lot of measures that KLM can do, but eventually it will be up to the government or to Schiphol to choose from either the shrinkage we've been talking about or perhaps the aviation tax Koen mentioned before. So in case one of these two or both were to be implemented, what are you most worried about?
Well, first of all, again, we need to follow the balanced approach.
Yeah.
And the outcome of the balanced approach will show what we're going to do. And hopefully a new government will at least try with all the stakeholders, including Schiphol and including the airlines, define the vision and the strategy looking forward. If you look at the threats, if you look at the negative side, if we talk about all these initiatives, it's not helping sustainability. Yeah. It's shifting the problem to Brussels, or it's shifting the problems to Frankfurt, and it's not helping anyone. And then there's a very nice movie. I'm not sure. You did some research before. I'm not sure if you looked at the YouTube movie we have of the business model we have. If we don't have the hub and spoke system today with 50% transfer, there will not be an airline in the Netherlands. There will now be connections, there will now be international students. It's not possible. So if you fly to New York, let's say for 100 customers, 90 customers are coming from Sweden, the United Kingdom, all different places. And that's the reason why we can fly to New York.
Mm-hmm. And do you think then the institutions have been an obstacle to you then in achieving your vision rather than a helper?
Well, by shifting the problem to other countries, it's not helping anyone.
Okay.
We have the connections to the rest of the world. It's important for our welfare. We need to earn each euro. it's important for all the businesses who wants to invest, and that's a big debate the last couple of days and weeks regarding Boskalis, regarding ASML. Companies want to invest in the Netherlands, but when investing here, you want to have connections as well.
So, of course, there's always also the discussion whether a country as small as the Netherlands really needs an airline as big as KLM, but you're saying that we need to have it simply to create a more attractive business climate.
You want to have an attractive business climate as well, then you need to have an airline, then you have to need the connections, and people want to discover the world, people want to develop themselves, look around. There are coming people here from all over the world.
Oh, absolutely. Still, it looks as if though you're a bit backed into a corner here, because despite your attractive propositions, you are still mostly controlled by Schiphol, which eventually would maybe limit the amount of flight movements that you're allowed to make. And Schiphol is owned by the Dutch government and by the municipality of Amsterdam. And the municipality of Amsterdam has even said that going forth, they will position themselves as an activist shareholder, trying to propose a shrinkage of even more than the 440,000 flight movements a year. So do you think that this is a battle that you can win?
Well, it's a dilemma. And of course, it's a dilemma. Today, it's 2 to 3% CO2, which we need to solve within the airline industry. And it's important we solve it. And we need to accelerate it. We need to accelerate all possibilities to become more sustainable each day. If we don't do anything, it will be 20% in the next decade. So the industry is growing. Other industries, it's more easy to decarbonize. So we need to do everything we can by claiming and what people do by not having an airline within the Netherlands. They don't say it, but reduction of movements, it's not solving anything. It's shifting the problem. So for me, it's important. Why don't we focus on innovation? Why don't we focus on sustainable aviation fuel? Did you look what happened in the United States? They invest a lot in sustainable aviation fuel. We should do the same in Europe. If you do so, it's 75% reduction of CO2.
Would you want the government to help you more with this?
Of course, we need the government to work with us and to help us, but not in the Netherlands. It's all about Europe. We should do this together from a European point of view.
Yeah. Well, we've really understood how KLM is important to the people of the Netherlands, but it's also important to the economy of the Netherlands. And Schiphol's economic activity brings from 4 to 8 billion euros to the Dutch economy each year, and a larger part of that comes from KLM. So do you believe that you're so important then to the economy and to the society that the government really doesn't have so much leverage on you eventually?
That's I'm not so sure to... let me reframe it.
Yeah.
We are part of the Netherlands. We are home carrier of the Netherlands. A lot of people are traveling with KLM. And we should take responsibility of the 2 to 3% part of the CO2. And we need to do everything we can to reduce it. Mm-hmm. That's our responsibility within the Netherlands, and we're willing to take that, and we have really ambitious plan to at least reach the targets in 2030 and in 2050. We did sign the SBTI targets, and we are planning to reach them.
Yes, so it's more about a cooperation then,
yes,
if I understand correctly. And then, but obviously, I think KLM has its commercial interest and the Dutch government has its priorities. Where's the line drawn between the government's ideas and your vision?
At least the common line is also for the government that we need a business climate in the Netherlands, and that we need a home carrier, KLM, in the Netherlands. I think that's not the debate. The debate is how to reduce noise reduction.
Okay.
And as a business, I need to earn money before I can invest. And we invest billions and billions and billions in new fleet. We ordered the Airbus 350 last year. We ordered new freight planes, the Airbus 350 as well. We have a new fleet coming in this summer, the Airbus 321. And if you compare a 747 plane with an Airbus 350, it's 50% noise reduction and 40% CO2 reduction.
So it's ultimately up to you, basically, how you're going to go forward and in achieving this shared vision.
Yes, but investing in new fleet, investing in sustainable aviation fuel, do you know how much sustainable aviation fuel we buy, Air France, KLM, in the world?
Please share with us.
It's 70% of the available supply. That's what we buy as Air France, KLM today as sustainable aviation fuel, which is 3 to 4 times more expensive.
But so if I'm not mistaken, I think out of the total fuel mix that you use, it only makes up mere percentages as of now.
Yes,
So-
today it's still, but we need to grow. We need to grow until 10% in 2030, and we need supply for this.
Yeah, yeah. So do you also motivate there to lobby the government to
Oh,
develop?
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we do a lot of things. For example, we try to we talk with corporates. Corporates, they should buy sustainable aviation fuel. It helps. Of course, we have contracts with Neste, with GG Fuels. And if you have contracts, they are willing to supply more. But we need also customers to buy sustainable aviation fuel. Today, if you buy a ticket, you can buy sustainable aviation fuel and therefore help improving the system.
Where are the biggest limitations in the supply chain now? Because you say you buy 70% of the available supply.
Today, it's the supply. So we are very critical on the sustainable aviation fuel. Today, it's made of cooking oil out of China, and there's so much cooking oil, as you can imagine. So we need more production of sustainable aviation fuel, and at the end, synthetic sustainable aviation fuel to be produced, and that needs to be there. Hopefully, in a couple of years, but it needs to be invented.
Okay, I think this is a good time in which we can see if our audience have any questions for now. Yes, we can go right here. The person in the green T-shirt.
I think there's a microphone coming to you. We'll have
Hi. So on August the 26th, KLM will launch its inaugural flight on the A321neo, which I'm currently going to attend. My question for you is, why did KLM choose the Airbus single-aisled aircraft as its new revolution compared to competing manufacturers? Why did you pick the Airbus?
The Airbus 320 or the Airbus 350? Either. It's the best airplane today. The Airbus 320 is the best aircraft today, and we have some geopolitical issues, as you know. So for us, it's impossible to fly over Russia. So if we want to go to Asia, it takes 2 hours more, and we need 4 cockpit crew. So it's more expensive as well. So for us, long range is important. And if you compare then the Airbus to the Boeing, the Airbus is more feasible for KLM at this point in time.
Beautiful. Any other questions? Yes.
And they arrived this summer.
Right there. Yes, the man with the glasses.
All right. Thank you. Hello. I want to maybe switch the topic a little bit. I want to ask about the rumored takeover of TAP Portugal by Air France KLM. And if it's true, I want to ask maybe broader, is SkyTeam trying to broaden its horizons to maybe take over a few other airlines? Because after the takeover or the investment by Air France KLM in the Scandinavian airlines, that's sort of what it looks like. So I want to maybe, I don't know how much you can say, but maybe know what the vision there is.
Yeah. So consolidation is important for us. Consolidation in the market is of course important, otherwise you will be marginalized. So we first started with SAS, 99%. And hopefully in a couple of years, with all the improvements needed from the EU, it will be another daughter of the group. So today we have 3 airlines. It's Air France, it's KLM, it's Transavia. Then hopefully we can include SAS. And then, as you all know, we are very much interested in TAP. But the Portugal government needs to decide first what they will do. And if they will go for privatizing TAP, we will be there.
I think we have time for one more audience question. So let's see. I think here at the front, and we'll have some time later as well.
Sorry. I just wonder, with the question still with A350 series airplanes, I wonder, because I've seen the news that KLM actually just ordered like 40 or 50 A350 with an Airbus company. And I just wonder, for instance, recently for airlines like Qatar, they actually set up just reframe those business class seat to Q suite. I wonder if you know with that. And I noticed that the main purpose of KLM that actually purchasing those A350 is to replace those old 300 and 200 ERs. And
Airbus 330. Yeah.
yeah, I just wonder if those new A350 will arrange more business class seats, or just they will still be in the same plane as 777 before, as more economy seats.
You're really expert. You're really an expert. Which year you are in? Which year of study you are in? Ah, shame.
Great audience here.
Finish
Open
quickly.
discussion.
Finish quickly. Yeah. No, so the difficulty for us is, of course, the level playing field. And that's also part. You didn't mention it as well, but level playing field is important for us. That's why it's so important to agree on a lot of topics within Europe. It's very difficult for us to compete with airlines like Qatar, like Emirates, like Turkish. They have a lot of money and different customers. So we don't have first class. We will never go to first class. Our business is offering business class. We introduced a new class, premium comfort, very highly recommended and appreciated. Small commercial. Economy comfort and economy. So if you look at the business class, we changed our business class, but we changed it to direct aisle, so 1-to-1 seats, full flat. And that's what we are going to do in the Airbus 350 as well. And that's the market in Europe, and that's the market from the Dutch perspective.
Yeah, great. We wanted to take some time to also look back at your previous career. So you started off at KLM,
God.
then you went to NS, and
Yeah.
then after 14 years there, you went back to KLM. Of course, if you look at the KLM and NS, they're not necessarily direct competitors of each other, but if you look at the grander sustainability race, of course, the train and the plane are definitely in quite a battle there. I think in Dutch there's this lovely word called vliegschaamte. It's a bit difficult to translate to English, but
Shame of flying.
exactly, shame of flying. What do you think, your personal opinion, of course you've chosen sides here, where you eventually ended up at KLM again. What do you think that says about your opinion of this debate between the train and the plane?
I think the train and plane need to work together. That's what I said when I was working at NS. That's what I'm saying working for KLM. So we promised, also from the NS perspective, but also from the KLM perspective, that if you can go by train within the 600, 700 kilometers, you need to do it. But then look at the trains today. If you want to go to Berlin, it will take you 6 hours and 40 minutes still. If we invest in some infrastructure, you can reach Berlin in 4 hours. That's important. So we want to offer our customers, for example, the train from Brussels or Paris and then transferring to other destinations like the United States, New York. But then the train needs to stop at Schiphol. So you need capacity at Schiphol, you need infrastructure at Schiphol to connect train and plane. So there's a big project going on within KLM. We're pushing a lot to get things done. We buy a lot of tickets ourselves for our customers. If they arrive at Schiphol, they can go by train to Paris, they can go by train to Brussels. But still we need more and more connections. if you want to go by train, for example, from Brussels to New York, there's no train on Saturday and Sunday in the morning early. So we need to improve the train system, we need to improve the connections, and we need to improve working together. But the first priority is investments in infrastructure.
Are you then in talks with your successor at the NS on how to implement this?
Of course. So we have a working group, NS, Eurostar, Schiphol, the Dutch government, and KLM, how to improve and accelerate.
Okay.
Yes.
These developments are part of your climate action plan, and in that plan you state that you will reduce your emissions by 30% per passenger kilometer by 2030. And these goals are largely based on new technologies, renewing your fleet, so also flying on hydrogen. These are ambitious measures, and there are some external studies that are saying that you will not reach these goals with your current policy, one by, for example, the Breda University of Applied Sciences. So are you betting too much on technologies that doesn't exist yet?
Well, first of all, there's no proof the other way around as well. And you all work on the university, you all work on innovation. We need to accelerate the innovation, but we cannot predict the future.
Yeah.
But if you look at all the developments today, there is already sustainable aviation fuel, yes, based on cooked oil. But they're building hundreds and hundreds of facilities in the United States already. They put millions and billions in the development of sustainable aviation fuel as a new fleet. I did fly myself in an electrical plane for 2 persons. We have our own flight academy, and we will buy, and we already committed to buy electrical planes if they are there. Today it's only for 2 persons. It's not enough, also not for training. But it's already there, and there are a lot of companies investing in it already. So I believe it will be the future.
Mm-hmm. So when do you think this technological development of electrical planes will reach such a level that it can replace your current capacity?
Well, they still say 60 until 70, 80 passengers around 2030 will be there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's still difficult for us, because it's not only about the amount of passengers, but it's also is it for 200, 300, or 400 kilometers. From a Dutch perspective, I say go by train. You first need to go by train, but then if you want to reach the United Kingdom, it can be done electrical.
So what is your contingency plan there if these technologies actually will not exist by 2030 and you won't be able to use them to reduce your CO2 emissions?
Well, first of all, look at the investments we do in the new fleet. The developments are here today. Look at what we do on sustainable aviation fuel. We buy 70% already today. And our commitment is 10% sustainable aviation fuel by 2030. We already bought 5% today with the available suppliers. So we're scaling up day by day by day.
So for you, it's more of a certainty than a bet rather on future
Well,
technologies.
it's we need to do everything we can.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And we make big steps and we take small steps. Like for what can we do ourselves? We spend a lot of time and money on AI. We already reduced waste on board with 50%, and that's also 50% weight. Is it enough? No, it's not enough today. Do we need to accelerate? Yes, we need to accelerate. Do we have all the solutions in place already? Not yet. That's the dilemma, and we need to work together to find the solutions.
So you think you're also doing everything you can right now for your current fleet?
We do everything we can, and we need to do more. We need to do more each day by working together.
Yeah.
And that's we need more pressure, I think, as well. And we will start a new initiative soon to work more together also within Europe with the full system in place. So you need the suppliers, you need the energy players, you need the investors, you need the airlines, you need the airports, all working together with the European Committee to accelerate, but also invest in all possible solutions.
Yeah. Well, the aviation industry is not really included in natural emissions, and this is mostly because of cross-border nature and international nature and all that discussion. And obviously, when we think about climate plans, we think mostly of the Paris Accord. Do you think this is a good justification for you not to be in that plan?
Not in which
Not to be in
plan?
the Paris Accords or climate
Yeah,
plans?
but we did sign the SBTI targets, and they are part of that plan. So we did commit to it. The question is, are we going to reach the targets? And do we do everything we can? Yes, we do, and it's not enough.
Okay.
A bit of a different example there. Another Dutch company, Shell, was sued by Milieudefensie. This was because of their negligence to combat their emissions efficiently. And Milieudefensie actually won this case, meaning that Shell now has a legal requirement to limit their emissions. And you, as KLM, are also on Milieudefensie's list of big polluters, as they call it. So are you worried about lawsuits like the one that Milieudefensie put in front of Shell?
I don't think at the end that lawsuits will help us reaching our goals. In my second month, we visited Milieudefensie. We talked with Natuur en Milieu and all the other parties. So I think we need at least to debate and share what we can do and to challenge each other. I think that's important. I think lawsuits will not help us develop and do the necessary innovations. You talked in your introduction about fly responsibly. We did not use that word anymore for the last 2 years. Yeah. So time is changing and you need to adapt. And we don't use fly responsibly anymore. We even say, looking forward, combine your business trip with your leisure trip, for example. Be more efficient also and think about the way you travel. If you want to travel with the most sustainable airline. If you travel, choose between train or plane. If you travel, make a combination of business and leisure.
Yeah, talking about the groups that you talked about, so Milieudefensie, Natuur en Milieu, specifically for KLM and Schiphol, you have a lot of groups that are very persistent on trying to engage in this communication with you. There's been protests at Schiphol as well. So how do you deal with talking to them and getting their interests presented?
Yes, well, as I just said I met them. I think it's important to have relations with all your stakeholders and to discuss possible solutions, discuss the dilemmas we have, because it cannot be solved today and not even tomorrow. It will take time. If you look at other industries, it's more easy. For us, it's industry hard to debate, but we need to do everything we can, and if they have, and that's why we connect with them to see where can we work together, what can we do, and of course, it's difficult, but that's why we are here already today. That's why I go to Op1 and all the other interviews in the media, at least to show all the initiatives we take, but also to discuss the dilemmas we have.
Yeah, we were mentioning fuels before, and obviously fossil fuels are quite a hot topic here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And in contrast to many other types of fossil fuels, like the gas I put in my car or the gas I cook with, the kerosene you fly your planes with is not subject to tax. And the plane tickets you sell are also not subject to tax compared to maybe train tickets who are different. Why do I then have to pay tax if I buy a pizza at the store, or if not, or I don't have to pay tax rather if I go back to Italy?
Yeah, but that's really a myth.
Is it?
That's really a myth. So if you don't think you pay tax on your ticket, it's a myth. So if you go, for example, to Budapest, you pay 200 euros. 60% of it today is tax. 60% of your ticket today is tax. Tomorrow and the day after, it will be 75%. So we committed all to the EU targets, we committed all to the Green Deal, and therefore taxes will be 75% of your ticket tomorrow. So of course there's still debate on kerosene tax, on long-haul tax, on transfer tax, The only thing we say is if we want to implement more tax above the 60% and the 75%, then at least do it at the European level.
Yeah.
So Wopke Hoekstra is talking about kerosene tax, and he wants to arrange this at European level, hopefully at world level, because of the level playing field.
Yeah.
But today we already pay 60% of tax, and it will increase to 75%.
Do you think if this tax is put at a European level playing field, this will cause you a competitive disadvantage towards maybe other?
Well, we
other airlines,
discussed
which is-
already
yeah.
Qatar and Emirates and Turkish. If you implement things on a national level,
Yeah.
it's not helping sustainability.
Yeah.
And this is meant for sustainability. Then you replacing the problem to what we discussed before, to Brussels or to Frankfurt, because people want to travel still today. But if you implement it at world level, then it's from a level playing field, and then it's really helping. And if then already also you use the money, the tax, for investing in sustainability, it would be even better.
Then do you actively lobby for this global playing field?
Yes. Yes.
So I think this is a good time to go back to the audience, maybe see if there's some more questions. In the back there, with the cap.
A lot of questions. That's good.
We have a very engaged audience, obviously.
Hi, good morning. I have a question about the future of pilots. Do you consider a job as a pilot future-proof, or do you think they're gonna not be anymore so useful as they are right now? And what is the current situationship of the market for pilots? Is there a shortage or no?
Okay. Can I ask you a question? If there's a plane without pilots, do you want to travel?
No, but I'm considering innovation. Considering innovation.
Yeah,
If it
that innovation is far ahead. And there is a lot of innovation already today, but I think we still need pilots. That's the same for trains. There's a lot of automation in trains, but there's always someone in the train controlling the train at the end. But there will be innovation. When and how, we don't know yet. If you look today, we need a lot of pilots. Because of overflying Russia, we need already 80 more people as cockpit crew today. And we have our own flight academy, so we doubled our pilot classes, and there's still a lot of people want to become pilot today. So no problem.
Great. Let's see if there's some other, I think here in the front. Bit of a walk, a microphone.
Yeah, we're keeping Max busy.
So Zembla recently made a YouTube video on pilot safety and their conditions. So a lot of pilots are struggling from fatigue, and same goes for aviation personnel. Is KLM actually aware of these problems inside of their personnel culture? And are you investigating this, since there's a lot of silencing culture and temporary contracts among pilots? I'm not sure how this is with KLM, of course, but are you aware of these problems, and are you
I'm
research
aware
on it?
of the topic. I'm aware of the topic, and safety goes first for KLM. So safety and customers are the first priorities we have, and we will never ever compromise on this. Never. So we are really focused on this, and we have really a speak up culture, mainly within cockpit crew and pilots, so we can learn every day. And of course, you need to evaluate and take care of this. But I'm aware that this topic is play a part at some airlines in the world.
Great. I think we have time for one more audience question. I think here. Max.
Thanks. Going back to the discussion just now, you were talking about how people are going to travel through Frankfurt and Brussels if the capacity gets cut in Schiphol, and you have acquired SAS, so you can potentially channel people through Copenhagen if you want to. So do you believe in a more European approach in terms of policy, reduction and environment? And if so, how is that going to look like?
Several questions at the same time. As a group, we need all the hubs, and then we have a combination of the networks between Paris, Air France, Amsterdam, KLM, and SAS Copenhagen. And it will be a European network from the three hubs. Yes, but you ask me about, again, reduction of movements. Reduction of movements is not the solution. Reduction of noise and CO2 is the solution. And we need to achieve those objectives in a different way. And we can achieve those objectives in a different way.
Great. I think going back to what you mentioned before, you had a sustainability campaign, Fly Responsibly, that you ran
That was
from
already 2 years ago. huh?
exactly
Okay.
2019
Yeah,
to
yeah,
2022. And even when you launched the slogan, it led to opposition from climate groups. And maybe based on that, maybe not, you decided to rescind the slogan, but you mentioned that you still stand behind this message to maybe combine your business and your leisure trip, maybe take the train more often. So why do you think that this specific slogan doesn't fit that message anymore?
Because the Fly Responsibly, it was said with a lot of context around it. People don't read the context. They only look at the slogan, Fly Responsibly, and then they say you cannot fly responsibly, so why do you use it? So time is changing, and you need to adapt, and that's what we did.
So what would be a better slogan if you could pick a new one
we
right
have
now?
a new one, but it will be launched in 2-3 months' time, so I'm not allowed to tell
Can't
you.
reveal it yet?
No.
Shame.
Looking forward to seeing it then.
Yeah.
Well, again, you mentioned that one of the options that you offer to fly sustainable is traveling with a combination of a KLM flight and a Eurostar ticket. So for flights from Brussels to a number of destinations, for example, you offer the option to take a train to Amsterdam and then fly from Schiphol. However, if you try to book just the route Brussels to Amsterdam, the cheapest option you have is to take the train to Paris, fly to Amsterdam from there for 172 euros. The offer to just take a train from Brussels to Amsterdam isn't shown there. Is this flying responsibly?
So we still fly 4 times a day. We flew 5 times a day from Brussels to Amsterdam. We skipped already 1 flight. We said we have the ambition to cancel all flights to Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the ambition and that's the target.
And what time frame are we looking at for this?
That's what I explained to you. So we discussed with Eurostar, we discussed with the Dutch railways, we discussed with the Dutch government that we need to have trains from Brussels also during the weekend. It's difficult for me as a business to explain to customers from New York, you can go by train on a Thursday, but not on a Saturday and a Sunday. You can go with Eurostar to Paris and arrive at Schiphol, but not to London. You have to go to Amsterdam Central Station. No, that's closed by now. You need to go to Rotterdam Central Station to go to London. That's difficult to explain. So we need to align the timetable of the trains with the timetables and also have them at Schiphol for transfer.
So it's these structural issues that you're facing that
It's
are limiting
structural
you.
issues that limit us. And so we have the ambition to reduce it to 0. But therefore, we need Eurostar or the Dutch railways at least to have frequencies also in the early morning at Saturday and Sunday, for example. And there are more things to be solved.
The example here, though, is that if you input in your website Brussels as a departure and Amsterdam as an arrival, that you show the option to first take the train to Paris and then fly from there. Well, that same train in the opposite direction ends up at Amsterdam. So I think this is a case where maybe you choose your own product over that of a competitor. But is there going to be a day where I put in Paris to Amsterdam on your website and I'll get the option to take a plane and also just straight to Thalys?
We have, if you buy a ticket from New York to Brussels, often the train is included in that ticket.
Mm-hmm.
It's the train ticket is included, not the plane ticket.
No.
So we offer a lot of our customers the possibility to go by train.
Mm-hmm. But still, would you see a world in which you also show your competitors. So if I would put in Amsterdam, Berlin, you would say, well, you can take the plane, then you'll be there in 2 hours, or you can also take the train, it takes longer.
Yes,
That's
of
better
course.
for the environment.
Yes, of course. Yes, if there is a possibility for a train in 4 hours, we will offer that. And better, we will combine it with the flight ticket. So if people want to fly from New York to Berlin, they buy a ticket including everything to make it more easy.
But so as of now, you don't show those direct
No,
journeys
because it's not there yet. That's the
yet.
issue.
Oh, but for Amsterdam, Brussels, for example, it is.
It's
There is
not
a
there
train.
in the weekend. That's the issue.
But so if
It's
I
not
go
there.
on a Wednesday and I try to book it,
Yeah,
you
but
still
for
won't
us,
show it.
to run a business, you need to give confidence to your customers, and then you want to travel each day of the week, each time of the week, and it's impossible for us to communicate. Today it's possible, there's a train. Tomorrow it's not possible because there's no train. That's why we work so hard with all the stakeholders to improve that product. Things need to be improved for stability.
That maybe goes towards more technical details of how those contracts work. So you have a contract with Eurostar,
Yes.
which is owned by the French government mostly. But so how does it go that you will eventually be able to offer these guarantees? Is it included in the contracts that you close with these train providers that you need a certain guarantee or a certain reliability on these routes?
Now, what we do today is we buy a lot of seats. So we have a real seat block in the trains for our customers. That's the easy part. And on CEO level, yes, of course, I talked to the CEO of Eurostar to convince them to have a different timetable as well in the weekend. And we have working groups in place to get things done.
So one competitor on the route Brussels-Amsterdam is also the NS. So what makes you then choose for one over the
We
other?
work with both of them.
Both? Okay, great.
Yes.
So we also wanted to come back to talking about your business model, which functions as a hub. You mentioned this in the beginning
Yes.
of the interview. So there are some examples here. So if you look at your website, this is going to be a bit difficult
We
to
don't fly
explain.
to Kazakhstan, huh?
No, you don't fly to Kazakhstan. No. So if you look on your website, you have, for example, the option to fly from Brussels, Bremen, Frankfurt, and Düsseldorf, then to Amsterdam, then have a layover here, and then take a flight to a different destination. But what we found is that, especially for one-way flights, it is always cheaper to be a transfer passenger than to fly directly from Amsterdam. So we have some slides as an example. So from Frankfurt to Amsterdam to Cape Town, for example, is 569
I don't have my
euros.
glasses on. I can't
It's
read
gonna
it,
be.
sorry.
I'm gonna try and read it aloud. But so from Frankfurt to Amsterdam to Cape Town, for example, is 569 euros. If you take that same flight from Amsterdam to Cape Town directly as only part of the journey, you pay 941. Next one, I think, if you go to Washington.
Yeah, so direct flights are always more expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, for example, Brussels, Amsterdam, Washington,
Yeah.
you're talking about a 700
Yeah.
euros difference. If you
Yeah.
fly from Amsterdam, same for Mexico City. It's almost
Yeah.
twice as expensive. Singapore as well, also
Yeah.
twice as expensive.
So what we do is it's not only KLM. If you look at each and every airline in the world, it's the same. So direct flights are always more expensive than transfer. That's first the case. Second is if you compare, for example, Schiphol to Frankfurt, we are both hub and spoke carriers. We both have like around 50-60% transfer customers. If you look at the customers transferring via Amsterdam, I think 70% of those customers don't have an option of direct flights. They just don't have the option of direct flights. So it's either the choice to fly via Schiphol, either the choice to fly via Frankfurt. Because we have such a great network of 160 destinations, with the prices we offer, people want to fly via Schiphol as well. If we don't offer it, they fly via Frankfurt.
Yes, we also checked this for return flights, of course. So it's mostly during one-way flights where it's a difference, but also in return journeys, you see that usually it's cheaper to not fly from Amsterdam. But then still, don't you feel it's difficult to explain to the Dutch population that they have to pay more to fly using the Dutch airline if they're going for the same journey?
It's all about direct flight. So if you, it's all about direct flights which are more convenient than indirect flights. And that's the choice you have. And it's a business we run. Don't forget. So it's a business with supply and demand. And that makes the price.
But still, if you would have to pay twice as much, like 700 euros extra to take the same plane journey.
It's because of all the taxes, probably. Then.
Yeah,
No, kidding.
no, that's yeah.
Well, but I think this puts quite a bit of a toll though on the Netherlands, and it's citizens like the people of Amsterdam, for example, who want to fly, or like our students, for example, who want to fly home to Singapore, Cape Town, have to pay a higher price just because they're in Amsterdam rather than being in a different.
If you live
airport.
if you live in Frankfurt, it's the same case. If you live in
Well, but
each city and you have
If
a
you want to
direct
take a plane
flight,
from Frankfurt to Amsterdam and then to your hometown, it's easier.
yeah,
And
but,
then,
but that's always the case
but
with
then
direct
you're
flights.
serving the German students, not the Dutch students. And I think KLM was born for the Dutch people. And then are you not doing a disservice to them by having such high prices for direct flights?
Not only the Dutch people, we are transfer company, so
Mm-hmm.
we serve a lot of international customers, and it is the case that direct flights are more, but it's also the case when you book. If you book a year ahead, it's more, it's cheaper than if you book a month ahead. So it's always supply and demand. So if you book a year ahead, you can fly for a right price. If you book a flight via Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Singapore, it's more cheap than direct flights. That's the business model.
Still taking with
That's why it's important, and also for us, to have a business model in place and do all the investments we need.
Still taking into consideration your sustainability goals, it feels difficult that if you take an extra flight, you save money. So do you think then there's something wrong with the business model of the supply and demand calculation behind these prices?
No, I think one topic you did not mention before, which I think is far more important, is a single European sky. I'm not sure if you did look into it, but if you look at the way you fly today, we always have to fly with a circle because of all the different countries, with all the different air traffic control regulations, with all different systems. So if we work together within Europe, if we work together in the world and optimize the way we fly, it saves 10% CO2 reduction by flying directly. I think that's the real topic.
Oh, also a promising initiative.
Yes.
I think before we close off the interview, we have time for 1-2 more audience questions. So if you can see in the to the left for the audience, then at least.
Yes. That's here. Okay. There's been a lot of issues in the press raised recently about Boeing and its quality control issues, and some incidents even with Boeing planes, including the 787 Dreamliner and 737 MAX. I was just wondering, do you know about these issues? Are you aware of those? And if you have an action plan to solve this?
Yes, of course I'm aware of it. We all read the same newspaper, there's a lot of pressure, of course, on Boeing. We have the 787. It's a good plane. We still have some new planes coming in. It's fully checked and controlled. I think the main issue today is the supply chain. So if you look around the world and if you look at all the geopolitical issues, it's difficult in the supply chain. We lack, there's a labor market issue, so suppliers lack people. There's an issue in supplies because of the Russia-Ukraine. And therefore, sometimes we need to wait for 8 weeks to receive, for example, a new seat, which is broken in the plane. And that's the real issue. And therefore, we really need to take care, of course, for the supply chain and for safety reasons, we do all the extra checks and controls necessary. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question. Let's see if
There's
in the
one
back
behind,
there.
one there, and one there.
And there's a lot. There's a lot. Not all the time in the world.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much for your talk. I mean, we all need to fly because, unfortunately, technological innovation cannot get us anywhere. But you mentioned that it's about reducing noise and CO2, but not per se about reducing movement, but of course, in the end, we do need to reduce our intercontinental movement as well. I mean, even if planes will be innovated with hydrogen, it would still just be, in terms of energy conversion, it just takes a huge amount of energy. And energy is bound to get more expensive. So isn't the real challenge for you as a CEO of Royal Dutch Airlines to make your market grow without increasing the number of air travel per se?
Yeah, so I didn't talk about growth. So we don't talk about growth. We talk about noise reduction and CO2 reduction, but not about growth. But I think we are the only airline and the only country in the world not talking about growth. So it's a broader issue than only the Netherlands. Look at European level, look at world level. Look what's happening in India. They order 500 new airplanes. Look at what's happening in Turkey. It's growing. Look what's happening in the United States. It's growing. So we really need to accelerate sustainability to avoid that it's 20-30% CO2, which we need to solve. And I'm not so sure it's what the next development will be. I think electrical flying will be the solution for short distances, 5, 6, 7, 800 kilometers. But next to this, I think the new airplanes, the new engines, and the synthetic aviation fuel will be the solution for long-haul flights.
Well, I think we've mentioned many topics, and obviously we would love to spend hours and hours talking, but we have an hour. So
there are more questions.
Yeah.
We can do one more.
Okay, let's do one more then, for sure. Absolutely. We can go right there.
Hi, thank you so much. I am an international student from Budapest, so now I know why my plane ticket.
So you know the price.
Yes. But I can't help but notice that every time I fly, I get my little cheese sandwich in plastic packaging and my little cup of drink in a plastic cup. And I know it might seem insignificant in comparison to CO2 emissions, but it is a huge issue. And I was wondering if you have any plans to change that to, for example, paper packaging.
Very good question. Thank you for asking me that question. Because it's very relevant, and we have a full team on innovation looking into this. And do you know why we use this plastic? Because it's very light, it saves weight, it saves fuel, and we can reuse the plastic, and therefore even the cabin crew is taken care of, and catering services is taken care of, that we collect all the plastic which we use on board and then reuse it. So everything together, it's the most sustainable way.
Okay. Yeah, we would love, we have to close up because it's 3.
Sorry.
But yes, you can always come by and ask questions once the interview finished. So, well, you have a tough flight ahead, and we've seen the challenges that lie in front of you. It's a tight rope you're going to be walking. And for our last questions, basically, we would like to ask you, the next time you're going to Brussels, will you take a train or a flight?
I'm going to Brussels next week by train.
Lovely.
Like I'm going to Paris a lot. I go to Paris every week because our head office is there, and I either go by train or by plane.
That's wonderful.
I think that's a good sustainable note to end today's interview on. So our next interview will be this Monday with Ingrid Robijns from 1 to 2. She's a professor at Utrecht University, and she'll be talking on the topic of limitarianism. Our next Lustrum interview will be on the 26th of March with Admiral Rob Bauer, who's the chair of NATO's military committee, from 1 to 2.
So if you're tired of sitting in the audience and would like to be on this side, our applications to become an interviewer are open. And obviously, you can always check our social media and our YouTube for our future interviews and our past ones as well. So we would like to thank the audience very much for coming here today and joining us. And a big, big applause for Ms. Rintel as well for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.